Hello and welcome to my ground beef meal prep video. We are going to start this video with a clean kitchen, as you should as well, emptying your dishwasher and having it ready for all of the dirty dishes we are going to make. Next, label all of your bags of food that we are going to make so you are ready to fill them up, and then we'll get right into it by chopping up 2 full onions. We're going to peel them first and then dice them up into small little pieces. We're going to be making a lot of ground beef mixture, so having 2 onions is definitely important. Once they're all chopped up, go ahead and throw all the onions into your pan and chop up a head of garlic. I like to pull the cloves apart and then smash them individually, which makes peeling off the skin very, very easy. Chop them up nice and fine and then put them into your pan as well. Let's get that pan right onto the stove and cooking down while we peel the butternut squash. Now, butternut squash seems like a strange thing to add to a ground beef mixture, but it adds so much bulk and vegetables with no flavor. I'm just going to put the extra butternut squash into a freezer safe container so I can use this for my next ground beef meal prep day. Cook that down until it is nice and soft with the onions and garlic, and then season with pepper, salt, better than bouillon paste. This is so good and adds so much flavor. A little bit of water and some garlic and onion powder. Then I bought this big tube of ground beef from Costco. It looked really strange, but it actually ended up being amazing. So I put about 1/3 of that into my pan with the vegetables cooking, and I just tried to squish that down so it could cook. Then I ended up cutting this tube into multiple pieces. I put a little bit into a bowl for the meatballs later, and the other ones I left in the plastic wrap in these cylinder type things and put them right into a plastic bag so I could store them easily in the freezer for whatever meals we like to make. Sometimes I like to make tacos, pasta sauce, and then I just wrote the date on there so I wouldn't forget. And then I started in on the meatballs. To that ground beef, I added in some Italian seasoning and some panko breadcrumbs, onion powder, salt, pepper, better than bouillon paste. Again, this is honestly the key to amazing flavor. It adds so much richness and depth. Then I mixed it all together and formed the little meatballs. I placed them in a bag that I had already labeled as meatballs with the day, and then I put them in the freezer. I then moved back to my butternut squash ground beef mixture and drained off some of the fat, giving it a quick mix. Now this is kind of weird, but I found this hack for making the best spaghetti sauce, and it's using this condensed tomato soup. So I poured 2 cans and then a little bit of water, spilling a little bit. I also forgot that I was going to use this ground beef for a teriyaki beef, so I pushed aside some of that tomato soup and then I grabbed some ground beef for my teriyaki, giving this all a good mix. Now for that teriyaki beef, I like to add some sugar snap peas. They freeze really well, and I just like to trim the edges off. I know it's not mandatory, but for some reason I have always done that. I think probably because my mom did it that way. I trim off the edges and then I put a bunch of sugar snap peas into a labeled bag. And then I added in that ground beef mixture that I had pulled out. So it's got the butternut squash, the onions, garlic, and ground beef. To that, I'm going to add some brown sugar and then some soy sauce, as well as some seasoned rice vinegar and some sesame oil. The seasoned rice vinegar is really important and it gives it the flavor, so try and get a brand that tastes really well to you. I also grated up a bunch of fresh ginger and put that in as well. Now take all the air out of the bag and then lay it down and smooth it out flat. This way when you freeze it, it doesn't take up a lot of space. Now if your kitchen looks the same way that mine does, just a humongous disaster, take some time now and quickly clean that up so you have a nice, fresh, clean workspace to finish up with. I tucked everything off to the side. I moved all of the extra compost and gave it a quick wipe. Then, I forgot to film this part, but I boiled some water and then cooked up some lasagna noodles. When they were cooked completely, I grabbed a strainer, put it into the sink, and strained the noodles. After that, I gave them a quick rinse with some cold water to stop the cooking process and make it easier to handle them. In that same pan I cooked the lasagna noodles in, I made a roux by combining some butter and flour until it was a thick paste. At this point, I also gave it a quick season with some salt, pepper, and garlic powder. This adds quite a bit of flavor, so you definitely do not want to skip the roux. You could also make, of course, a ricotta mixture, but we are a dairy-free household, so I do not do that. Then add some milk of choice. I used oat milk here, and adding more until it is the texture that you want. I added some water so it wasn't super rich, and you want it to be kind of a creamy sauce. You can see the bottom of the pan when I'm scraping it down. Okay, so we are gonna start assembling the lasagna. I'm gonna make a big lasagna for our family, and then I'm going to make a few smaller freezer meals, kind of individual sized. What you wanna do is get all of your stuff prepared in front of you. I've actually let all of the stuff cool off quite a bit so I can just handle it, which will be perfect. So first, make sure that you give them a good spray, otherwise it will never come out. You can also just spread oil around your pan. So you're just gonna start with a scoop of meat sauce. Okay, now some noodles. I did a cardinal sin. I broke them in half, but they fit perfectly in these little containers now. I'm a little bit worried that I'm not gonna have enough pasta sauce. I for sure won't have enough for sloppy joes. This is one of those times where you have something planned in your mind and then things kind of go astray and it doesn't work out perfectly. I planned for this to all be enough for sloppy joes, lasagna, and some spaghetti sauce, but it turns out it's only enough for some lasagna. And these lasagnas are probably gonna be well received, I'm hoping at least. There you have it. I have meatballs, a bunch of ground beef, lasagna, and a teriyaki beef, and all of that took me about an hour. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you more than you know. Take care.